or Lipton tea, forgive me. So we're looking at sports women after birth, what happens after they give birth. And I have with me Lillian Ade, who is an executive committee member of the GFA and in charge of women's football here in Ghana. And she's going to speak to us about the issue of what happens to sports women after they give birth. Good morning, Lillian.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good.
Okay, so you were a sports person or sports woman. And did you take time off to have children?
Yes.
Did you go back to the sports?
Yes.
How was it for you after giving birth?
First, let me say that I was playing football, and then I got into refereeing. But before getting into refereeing, I had a boy, a child, and I got back.
Got back to playing football?
No, got back to refereeing in soccer.
Okay.
And I didn't look like somebody who had a child. It was very interesting. You train, and even my size, my tummy, didn't look like somebody who had a child. And I did that for 15 years. Then I gave birth to another boy. And I went back again. And after 2 years, I decided to get into match commissioning and into soccer administration.
But do you think this is a problem that most sports women face? Is this a challenge for them? Is this something they worry about, that maybe they won't be as effective as they were if they take time out to go and have a baby? With definitely the body will change, it will go through some changes, and so many other things. Is this a challenge for women?
Yeah, it's because of the perception people have about sports women. Some will discourage you. They will tell you that if you are doing sports, you will not be able to give birth. If you are doing sports, you look masculine, and your hormones will change, and you can't even give birth.
Is that true?
Because
your
it is not true.
Does it affect your hormones in any way?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It depends upon the way you manage yourself and the way you look at yourself. And that's what I'm saying, that is the perception. So psychologically, it has an advantage on certain people, but certain people it doesn't, because they don't see it as something that is going to affect them negatively. But once you think positively, people have had children. I am an example. I went back into it and I didn't see anything wrong with it. We've had referees who were FIFA referees, Abigail, Mary, and other people. They've gone to have children. Mercy Tego was a footballer. She became a referee to the highest level in the continent and in the world. But she also had children. She got back into the game, and it was just last year that she retired. Meanwhile, she's had about 4 children. So that's why I say that it's the perception that people have.
But it's
not necessarily true.
But speaking from personal experience for you, do you feel that at the time maybe you weren't as effective when you came back to the game? Did it slow you down a bit? Did anything change at all?
No, it didn't. It didn't change. It rather encouraged me. I was motivated to do more, because you feel that you've slacked behind and your colleagues are leaving you, so you need to work hard to be able to catch up with them. And it did. And after that, you realize you are on top of issues, and it doesn't have any negative effect on you.
But do your priorities as a woman change? I mean, now you have a child to think about. Are there certain kind of training and other things on the pitch that you wouldn't do now that you have a child, as to compared to when you didn't have a child? Maybe you think, okay, now I shouldn't train as hard, or I shouldn't run as fast because now I have a child. Or
No. It rather edges you on to rather train seriously. You have to do more than what you were doing in the time that you didn't have a child, because you think that sometimes your body will be resistant, but you have to. That's what we call endurance. You have to endure so that you can overcome them. But it doesn't ask that because you have a child, you should stop doing certain things on the field. No, you have to do the same things that you were doing and even improve upon them.
But do you see that maybe the coach or some of even your teammates treat you differently? Maybe they see you as a bit more fragile now or something. Do they give you special treatment because now you're a mother?
No, it doesn't happen at all, because we've had footballers. Genevieve Clottey had a child when she was playing. She came back to play, and she played for more than 15 years.
So it's something that's very popular.
So it's common, but the perception that people have that when you have a child, you cannot go back to training or doing anything. No.
Not necessarily.
No. Margaret Simpson just had a child. She went back to training. It's because of injury that she was not participating in the Olympic Games and the African games that we have, all African games. But she's still training.
Right.
So it doesn't have any negative effect when you have a child and you go back to training.
Generally speaking, do sports favor women in Ghana?
No, it doesn't. It's now that it's just recent that the trend has changed, but it doesn't, because you realize that even when there are certain things, the male aspect or the masculine aspect, they have the highest consideration than the women. And I'll say that until recent, things are now changing, but we still have it a 8.2. That's what I'll put it ratio, because where you have, let's take the GFA for example. It's the first time that a lady has been elected onto the executive committee.
That is you.
That is me. But I believe it's because they have accepted that they need women to work alongside them. That is fine. Even in Parliament, you realize that the UN is saying that 40% must be women. But do we have that? We don't. But I believe we need to motivate more women to be able to take up positions. And so when we are doing something, there should be some sort of equity.
Okay. Back to when women take a break to have, when sportswomen take a break to go and have kids, do you see that maybe the coach or the managers of the team, do they have a problem with women taking time off? I mean, you're there for a purpose. You're supposed to be playing, you're supposed to be active, and then all of a sudden you're pregnant and you have to take 9 months off. Is it an issue?
Yeah, it's always been an issue, because you have to, with girls, it's different, and women, you have to train them, and when they get to their peak, that's where she has also planned to have a child. Exactly. And that's where you also need her. So it's like there's a challenge there for the coaches, because you now have to work on somebody to take up that position. Okay. Yeah, so there's always a challenge.
All right. That's all the time we have this morning. Thank you so much for this insightful conversation. I've been speaking with Lillian Ade, who's an executive committee member of the GFA, and she's also in charge of women's football here in Ghana, and we've been talking about sports women and what happens to them after they give birth. Like she said, it's a negative or a wrong perception out there that sports women do not or cannot have children and come back actively into the game or the sports.